Today, obviously, it is war economics. And what I'm saying is, monopoly in production of war machines doesn't help. Competition helps. The USA is realizing it because all its big machines is giving it superiority. But after this war, people will be buying Iranian drones or Ukrainian drones, faster, smarter, and they are competitive. They sell well, they hit well. And that could be a bad outcome of this war. As a maverick observer of the Indian economy, I like to take this interesting walks on the economy, what's happening, but it gives me the greatest pleasure if you are able to join with me. And the best way to do that is when you press the bell icon, because that tells you a new episode is ready. And now, onwards with our story. War, of course, and war economics, and I think this is going to be with us for quite some time. But let me first tell you that what I'm going to talk about is the fact that as the war producer or as the biggest producer of war items, USA is working like a monopoly, and typically like a monopoly, it is being inefficient. It is bringing into the war equipments, frankly, which are not the best suitable ones. So, let us take the example from a market economy. In a market, what sells? That for which the audience wants to buy, they like the products that are coming in. And when there is competition, that tells you that this product is doing well or that product is doing well. Now, unfortunately, the USA, as the world's largest producer of arms, does not know which products sell well, because it doesn't allow any competition in the market. Sure, there are some American, there are some Swedish, there are French, there are British producers, but they frankly don't produce at volumes. And Russia, let's not even talk about what they produce. So, what essentially happens is, as the largest departmental store producing all sorts of war machines, USA makes the fundamental problem that any monopolist makes. A monopolist is often thought of the guy who's making the maximum profit, but that's not true. The monopolist, what he enjoys most is a quiet life, that whatever I'll sell, whatever I'll produce will sell well. And they sell well in a market where demand is elastic. For USA, it's great that the demand is elastic. There's always something happening. If the wars were limited in elastic demand, USA wouldn't have done well. So, it does well. There is elastic demand, first condition. But the second condition, that they should therefore produce what the market wants. Unfortunately, a monopolist never knows what the market wants. So, in this war with Iran, the first full-scale war that USA is fighting after several decades, it doesn't know what sort of equipments to bring to the market. It's got this huge, heavy-looking machines. Unfortunately, that's not the war that Iran is fighting. Iran is getting hammered, but Iran doesn't bother. Iran is fighting with, basically made-at-home kits, and USA doesn't have equipments to deal with those. And the world is actually troubled by those made-at-home kits rather than by the big, this big huge bombers and others which USA can bring in. So, what's the result? That just like a monopoly producer, USA is running a very inefficient war. And frankly, you would say that what does it matter? After all, it's winning. No, but actually it's being more costly for it. A monopoly producer produces things at a much more cost than a perfectly competitive one. So, there is this economic theory which is called the learner's curve, which came from this Russian economist Abba Lerner, and he devised the theory of what happens when there is a monopolist there in the market. So, to sort of simplify things, what happens is price minus the marginal cost divided by the price is basically what the extent of monopoly power that a monopoly guy has. Now, looking at that, USA is doing wonderfully well, but actually not. The marginal cost is high. And why is it high? Because USA brings in each time very sophisticated piece of machinery. Think of these huge aircraft carriers, or think of those huge, those F-35, F-34, or God knows which numbers airplanes. Very costly to produce, makes for an extremely good idea when a seller is selling. The Pentagon says these are great machines, best than anybody else in the world. Sure, they are better than anybody else in the world, but is it what you need to swat a fly? The Iranian attack is like a fly. You don't use a huge machine to swat a fly. What you need is a fly swatter. USA doesn't have a fly swatter. And as a result, what it is producing in the market is something which nobody would ever be buying from it in future. You don't expect other countries, when they go to war, will be using these US machines unless they are forced to. There's a chance that the broken down Iranian system could produce better machines because they are living in a competitive world. And chances are that now the USA has told Germany, Sweden, that you also get in the business of producing arms. We are not going to give you all the arms all the time. Germans are efficient fellows. The Swedish manufacturing system is extremely efficient. Chances are USA not only is winning a costly war or waging a costly war, it has also created competition through Germany, through Sweden. And this could be pretty bad news as far as the US war machine is concerned. So, a monopolist producing bad products because the products are not the ones that you want to be using in the market, and frankly speaking, it is creating competition where it is not even thinking of competing. You know, these lessons are very good. This is the reason why nuclear weapons are not a particularly good ones to produce, because they are monopoly products. But you can't sell the monopoly products because that's not the best product to use in the market. You nuke somebody and the war is over, and then there's huge costly price to pay. So why even have a nuclear power? It's much better to have the drones. The Ukrainians are teaching the Russians what competition in the market does for war machines. The Iranians are teaching USA what competition in the market does to create smarter war machines. They are cheaper, handheld, easy to use, and that is what, after this war, Russia and USA will remember, that all their big machines that they have is frankly something which nobody wants to buy. If you are going to have a fight between Pakistan and Afghanistan, they'll reach for the Ukrainian or the Iranian machines. They'll not be going in for the huge, costly American or the Russian machines. And that is bad news for guys who had been holding on to monopoly power in war machine production. And that's all from this edition of On Point. For a detailed description of what we discussed here, please visit my Substack. The link is in the description below. Thank you.